Ahoy! It is your boy, and today is Sunday, November 19th. The weather's getting very comfortable. I don't know if it's like this for you, wherever you happen to live, but I've lived in the Bay Area for about 16 years or something like that. But every year, I kind of forget, or maybe I should even say from season to season, I kind of forget what each season feels like, because the weather in California, or at least where I live, is very temperate. It's very much the same. Of course, there's fluctuation during the seasons, but you kind of go about kind of forgetting that seasons exist at all because the weather is just kind of uniformly nice. It's actually one of the reasons that I feel sad about leaving the Bay Area in the relatively near future, which seems likely on some level, because it really is the case. Where else do you go in the country where the weather is this nice? And there's really no other place. Even actually, now that I think about it, how does this work? Because even if you look, what's the difference between, is latitude vertical and longitude? I'm gonna say latitude is vertical. But if you just draw a map across the United States from San Francisco, I don't know what city you hit, but I guarantee you the weather there fucking sucks. You know, and I don't know why that is. Like, shouldn't it be pretty uniform? Maybe it has to do with elevation or something like that. But the point I'm really driving at is that the weather is great all year round. And when it rains, it's not awesome, but it really is very, very scarce. I mean, you maybe get half a dozen days of rain, maybe throughout the entire year. Now, we'll see how that shakes out with global warming, because I think at the end of the day, the whole world's getting shook up like a snow globe. Not that it's getting colder, it's getting hotter, but I just mean that in the sense that everything's kind of out of whack. But I had this thing. I actually just flew back into town. I'll tell you about that, I suppose. But I came back into town, and as I was walking from, it's called the BART station. BART is one of our forms of transportation around here. From the BART station. Wait, first of all, I have a qualm here. You're not supposed to say the BART. You're just supposed to say, oh, I rode BART. And if you say I rode the BART, then you sound like a dork, apparently. I've had people call me out on that, although I still say it. But you do say the BART station. So I walked from the BART station. But actually, maybe it's just because you use the article because you're talking about the BART station. Because you can't say I walked from BART station. You walked from the BART station. But maybe you get away with the because you're talking about the station itself. So anyway, this is compelling content. I walked from the BART station to my house. And as I was walking, I realized that the season had changed in just the course of like 24 hours. You know, I sort of go about, the spring and the summer and everything's very uniform. But once the leaves fall off the trees, and we don't have beautiful fall leaf changes like you do in other parts of the country, you just look up one day and all the leaves are gone. And all the trees look a little bit sickly. But I always sort of forget that, you know? And then when it's warm, once it gets warm again, I forget what that was like as well. But it's this constant amnesia, the seasonal amnesia that's happening here, where I'm always sort of eager for one or the other, because once I've been in the cold for long enough, I'm ready for the warm weather. But especially when I've been in the warm weather long enough, I'm ready for the cool weather. You know, of course, you can be more out and about when it's warm, and I do admit I have a little bit of that seasonal affective disorder, and so I usually get pretty sad in the wintertime. But still, I don't know. I like bundling up. I like being able to wear a couple more layers. And, people ask those types of questions like, would you rather freeze to death or would you rather burn to death? And for me, I'd rather freeze to death, I think. But yeah, speaking of cold, I actually just flew to Portland for my friend's birthday. I had a friend who turned 40, longtime friend of mine. I've known this gentleman for maybe 20 years. And, he's married. He just had a baby. He has a beautiful home in Portland. And was turning 40. And just with school, I had assumed that I would not be available for it. And that was kind of that, I was happy for them, but I was not going to be able to make this kind of seminal celebration that they were going to have. So, but then I was kind of just thinking about it and kind of marinating on it. I mean, he just had a baby. And who knows what the future is going to be for me. I could be abroad. I mean, I will be abroad at least for 3 months in the spring, and I'm not really sure if maybe I'm coming back right away. Maybe I extend my time there. I'm not sure, but I thought, if I don't do it now, I'm not really sure when I'll be able to see them. And I was kind of like working on my paper, and I was thinking, if you really kind of knuckle down, you could probably get this paper to a pretty good place where if you really wanted to fly out there very, very quickly, that's probably fine. Also, as I'm saying that, I'm also realizing that if you want to fly out there anyway, that's probably fucking fine. I mean, you can't spend a week out there. But basically what it is, I just looked online and saw what flights were available. And I was like, well, yeah, I can literally, I can fly in on Saturday and get there midday. And I can leave Sunday morning. And I'll be able to be there for the party proper. And so, yeah, just made sure I could crash there. Make sure they didn't have anyone else. Just made sure they had a couch for me, pretty much. And, of course, they did. And so bought my tickets last minute. And so, yeah, Saturday, flew to Portland. Had a great time with them and flew back right away. So it's a bit of a whirlwind. I admit I feel a little disoriented. As soon as I went to bed, not too late, probably around midnight or so. Everybody else was up kind of raging and partying and playing music and all that sort of stuff. And I know I was kind of falling asleep on the couch and sort of woke up in the dark at some point. So I assume I went to bed about midnight or so, and I was up about like 5:45 or something. Yeah, it's always weird to go to a new city and you just sort of have to remind yourself how big the world is, or at least, the sun rises and sets everywhere else as well. Because I've been to Portland many times, and especially as a musician, I probably played maybe half a dozen shows in Portland, but especially right before I stopped playing music, I probably was there and maybe 3 times over the course of like 2 years, and that was just for music. And my last partner, we had also gone to Portland a couple times. Her family was sort of split, or I should say many of her family members were split across Portland and Seattle, so we were kind of back and forth, and I got some sort of shitty notification here. But yeah, so we were kind of poking our heads into Portland and Seattle all the time. And it's kind of weird because if you ask me now, I can kind of picture downtown Portland, but Portland's one of these like very cool cities in the United States that just has it has a huge reputation. But when you actually go there, at least to me, I've never been that impressed by it. I feel bad for my friend who lives there to say this. I mean, I love Portland. It's a great place to be. And I guess when you there's kind of like a trifecta of cool cities on the coast, which is like Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco, or the Bay Area. And San Francisco is exorbitantly expensive. Seattle is now exorbitantly expensive. It's on par. If it's not as high as San Francisco, it's not far from it. Portland is a very, quote, cool place to live. And but you're not going to be it's not necessarily going to have the San Francisco price tag. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things. I know I kind of touched on this, I think, in my last installment here, but we were talking about politics, and we were talking about, although I feel like I'm on the left and very far on the left on many issues, at least, there's something about the polarization of our politics where, people on the left have gone so far that just relative to them, I'm a right wing in their eyes. And, that's certainly, I mean, I live in Berkeley, for fuck's sake. I mean, we're like the epicenter of the sort of far left political culture that's here in America. I mean, if you had to sort of pick one city that sort of, to emblematize the far left political spectrum, it's pretty much synonymous with Berkeley and UC Berkeley specifically. But which is actually, I'm going to try to flag that in my mind because I have an interesting thing that kind of happened. But yeah, so that's definitely present in Portland. So you kind of got to deal with that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the only thing holding me back from Portland is the weather. It's very, it's actually kind of funny because although places are very similar culturally, and whether it's politics or there may be, I don't know, musical aesthetics or something like that, there are just sort of subtle differences in clothing that you notice that just aren't prevalent. Like, it just lets you know that you're in a new place because I was with my friend and so we met up with some other people who happen to be at this kind of brewery or something like that. And so as we show up, it's just like a typical hipster brewery, The people who are working there, you kind of get the sense that they feel pretty cool that they're there. Like, I don't know. And there's just a lot of cool people kind of sitting around. Like, this is a very hip place to be. And it's like these places are all over the, you find these types of places in Seattle, you find them in San Francisco, you find them in Portland. But the thing is, you kind of look at what everyone's wearing and you realize it's very different. So in Portland, everyone wears flannel. And I was like, oh, we don't do that in the Bay Area. Like, or if, yeah, I don't know. I mean, of course, you'll find it, but it was almost like it was a standard issue uniform. Like if you move to Portland, you basically get like your, your, I don't know, your Portland rucksack, your military issued Portland rucksack. And in there is like 4 flannels and mustache wax. Because a lot of people do have like the fucked up mustaches in Portland. Not that those are not present in the Bay Area. Those are definitely fucking here. But I feel like, what are those big bikes with like the huge front wheel from like the I don't know, from like the 18th century? I feel like Portland's the type of place where you see a dude with like a waxed mustache, like literally riding that bike down the street. Yeah, something about the cold weather. People really go like, I don't know, they go The Shining out there or something like that. I will say the good thing though is at my friend's house. One, he has a beautiful, beautiful home, but it was very nice to just kind of sit by the fire. I don't know if, I assume people have fireplaces here out in the Bay Area, but they just don't seem that prevalent. But even out here, one of my favorite parts about the season too is you're kind of walking through the neighborhoods and one person will have kind of a fire going. And yeah, that smell just kind of cuts through the cold air. And that's one of the signs that you're kind of in the new season. Yeah. So yeah, I was really hoping to get more time and material out of my friend's birthday, but I'm not really sure what to say. Maybe it's maybe it's weird to see sort of, people in their adult lives. And by that I mean, this friend of mine, I've known him for a very long time, and it's just very cool that life is long and you get to, not a lot of people, but if you're lucky enough, you have a few people that you carry with you through life. And there was a moment where I happened to see some old photos. My friend's father had passed away, and unbeknownst to me, they had used one of my recordings in a slideshow that was played at their father's funeral, which is very touching. But by virtue of him showing me that, I was able to see a lot of photos, and I was able to see, and so they were like a collection of photos of my friend and his father and their family over the years. And so I was able to see a lot of old photos of my friend. And it's just crazy how life is long, and you get to live about 10,000 lives. And, to be able to sort of do that with, at least one person, maybe a couple more if you're lucky, but to be able to kind of go through life with some people and, to go from, when we were living in Tucson together, I was like, languishing at a junior college studying music, and I met this person playing some of my first shows in Tucson, just playing like, coffee shops and bars and that sort of stuff. And actually the other thing that kind of made this trip cool is, and I'm wondering if I should use people's names. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I don't know how else to talk about people. My friend's name is Matt, but he was like, oh, Brian is also going to be there. And Brian happened to be this other person who was playing music in Tucson. Same kind of acoustic style of music. And, when you sort of, when you enter any kind of music scene, you're kind of have your head on a swivel. You're kind of looking around, looking for who your musical compatriots are going to be, or who your peers are, or who else is doing the same thing. And there were other people as well, but myself, Matt, Brian, and a couple other people, we were always kind of booking shows together or seeing each other play or that type of thing. And so I had not heard or seen this person since I left Tucson, pretty much. Maybe they had dropped me a line, or we had connected every once in a while. But yeah, so I that was just kind of in the back of my mind somewhere. But when they walked in, obviously we had both aged, but it was just very cool because I remember I had a very clear. It's just we're sort of unfair with each other, which is we sort of calcify people in our memory of them. So like Brian for me was always Brian at 19, and I just assumed that he was like the exact same person. But the minute he walked in, I was very warm, and it was just very nice to see him. And we're not close enough that it's one of these things where it's like no time had passed at all. But it's just nice that people who haven't seen each other in forever can just kind of fall into a conversation, and whether it's talking vulnerably or talking about your lives or even just joking around, it's nice that those things can happen. but also seeing the change in somebody. They were, he was very funny, very gregarious, and I think when everybody meets at like 1920, we're just all so insecure, and like there's a kind of manic energy to us around that time. And so, yeah, it's kind of unfair that people sort of, people in our memories or people from our past, we sort of, I don't know, we pin them down like I don't know, I'm picturing like a butterfly or something in a photo album, or whenever we recall that person, we just sort of picture them as the person they were when they're 19. And of course, life is long, and who knows what people have experienced, and so you sort of meet someone at 19 when you're all running around like playing shows and hoping that you're famous someday, and then you bump into that person. 20 years later, we're all older. Most of the people I run into now are married with kids. And so this person has 3 kids and they're married and have a professional career, and everyone still plays music. And in the interim, we've all had various types of successes of some sort. But to be meeting in this chapter of our lives, we're all knocking on the door of 40, which is crazy. But to just see how people change. And so, yeah, bumping into this Brian person. Because I think, admittedly, if I'm just being honest, I think there's always, I was just very ambitious as a musician when I was younger, and I think that also made me, I don't want to say competitive, because I don't think anyone that knows me would have ever described me that way. I don't think my presentation is as a competitive person, and I'm certainly not like the type of person who undercuts people. But I am a little judgmental, and to say the least, and yeah. So I feel like I always kind of kept people at bay. And one, I think that was just a part of my personality at the time. I mean, I was 19. I mean, this is before, 14 years of therapy or something like that. So I always kind of kept people at a distance. Very few people have kind of let into my life. And so I always had, who knows how many reasons why I couldn't let somebody in. There was something about them that kind of disqualified them or whatever. But it was when I was bumping into this person, Brian, and just sitting on the couch, there was a way in which I was like, wow, I'm really enjoying my time with this person. I really, they're just very, very endearing, very, very warm. And I realized, man, there's probably a lot more people I could have let into my life and been closer to, if I had just given them a shot. And so that was nice. Yeah. And there was something else kind of dancing in my mind I wanted to come back to, which I can't remember. But it was something I said while I was sitting on the couch with this person. Something about time. Oh, it was this idea, too. I mean, I remember being 19, 20, 21, playing music in Tucson, Arizona, and really feeling like I was running out of time, Like I felt like at 19 or 20, I was like an adult. And not that you're not an adult, but you're really only adult-ish at that age. Now, maybe if this was back in the early 1900s when like people went to war at like 16 and had children at like 20 and, maybe died by 35. Maybe even had like a couple kids pass away in the interim. But, especially for our generation, like 1920 is adult-ish. Like you can barely take care of yourself. You're almost like you're being reborn. Like, when a baby deer is born, and it just sort of like stumbles on its legs, it just sort of wobbles, it can't even hold itself up. That's kind of what being 19 or 20-ish is. But I just remember like just being tortured by the fact that like, I just had to be successful. I was like, well, I'm going to be, if I'm not a successful musician by X age, my life will be over or something like that. And just living with that pressure. And it's just so the funny thing I was imparting to this, my friend Brian, was, gosh, it's just so funny that life has been as long as it has been. And there were so many experiences, I wish I could have just tapped myself on the shoulder at 19 or 20 and just said, hey, man, relax. Not only is not only is most of what you want going to happen, it's going to take exponentially longer than you could ever imagine. And it's not going to look anything like it. And by the way, the things that you think are going to make you happy are not going to make you happy. It's actually, because I guess what I'm thinking now is like, if you had, although many things that happened to me, the types of quote successes that I had were exactly the types of things I wanted, whether it was, I wanted to play this venue. Well, first of all, it was just, I wanted to play music at all. I wanted to make a record. But the fact that you, one, got to make the type of music that you had in your head eventually would have, was what was a dream of mine. The fact that the types of shows that I wanted to play, a lot of that stuff happened to me. Or admittedly, it's things like, oh, I want to have this many listeners online, especially as streaming became a thing. That stuff happens to you. But none of that stuff makes you happy. Not that it's not good, not that it's not a success, but it doesn't abide. There's nothing about it. It's sort of like there's what's that famous speech in Fight Club? The things that you own end up owning you. But we constantly, and I still do this, but we constantly go about our life thinking, oh, once I buy that thing, I'll be happy. And even if my life goes to shit, well, at least I'll have that thing. Now, it sounds very silly when you talk about things like a Prada purse, or I was talking about buying firearms. There's different things that we kind of attune to. And for maybe when I was younger, it was like musical instruments. If I get this effects pedal, or if I get this piece of software, or if I get this type of guitar, if I upgrade my guitar to this quality, then I'm going to be not only be better, but it's going to solve something for me. And also you think that there's going to be some type of contentment or a feeling of arrival that sort of endures after this entrance of this object into your life. And of course it doesn't do that. So when we talk about when we talk about physical objects or like overt consumerism, it's very easy. We all smile and nod, but we all do this with our lives. We all do this with, oh, once I reach this level of success, once I make X amount of money, that's going to make me happy, and it doesn't. And this is the part where it sounds like I'm sort of falling into platitudes, but I really think it's worth considering. I mean, I really do think about this a great deal, especially as someone who's at a kind of juncture in their life where they can kind of choose what the next chapter of their life looks like. I really just don't mean to sound... Yeah, I don't mean this in a platitudinous way. I mean, I really think it's worth reminding ourselves that, people like Elon Musk... First of all, this came up a couple times just over the last 24 hours. One, it was with my Uber driver. It was with the people I was hanging out at my friend's party. But it was this idea of money, right? And I think this is, in some ways, I was kind of getting at this point. But to be sitting in a room full of adults who are all kind of around 40 years old, and I feel like a bit of an odd man out because, I'm in college. And by the way, I'm an undergrad. I'm not like in graduate school or something like that. And it constantly, this happens anyway. When I'm like just in class or something, people assume I'm a graduate student. Even my peers, because they just see me as, well, first of all, people think I'm a teacher. Constantly, I'll just be in the hallways and people just ask me where things are, and I have no idea. Not that even the teachers have any idea. It's just a huge campus. But people see me as like an authorial figure. And even amongst the people in my classroom, people often think I'm just a graduate student. And I can see the kind of gears turning in their head. They sort of talk to me as a graduate student, or conversationally they ask me about grad school or whatever. It just sort of comes up and I have to correct them. And I always, do it, I don't know, but I always preface it with, oh, I totally know why you would assume that, right? Because I'm older. But actually, I'm an undergraduate student. And I see the kind of recalibration kind of going on in their mind. And I try not to look too deeply into it. Meaning, I think there's a little bit of not disappointment's not the right word, but it's a little bit of judgment. It's a little bit of embarrassment on their part because they're not sure. They're kind of attuning to see how I feel about it. Like, do I feel bad that they've assumed I'm a graduate student, or whatever the case may be. But for some people, it's a little bit of a like. I had one student. He's Chinese American, and we were sort of talking, and I said, "Well, actually, I'm an undergraduate too." And he said, "What?" And it's like the thought had never crossed his mind before that somebody could be as old as I am and still be an undergraduate. And so if I was a different type of person, maybe I could have been offended. But I just totally understood, like in that moment, this person had never encountered this before, and they're just processing, right? So I have to sort of deal with that. But that's amongst younger people, so that's one thing. When I'm around people my age, it's a little more vulnerable. Because I'm sort of standing in the kitchen with my friend's wife, and they have some friends who are over. And maybe you're already with me here, but what I'm trying to paint a picture of like a bunch of 40-somethings or people knocking on the door of 40. Most of them are established in their careers. Many of them are married, have kids, or are about to have kids. And so everybody just kind of assumes that we're all on the same page. So when I'm standing there I was wearing actually this Middlebury sweater, and Middlebury was it's a college in Virginia. During the summer, it turns into a language school. I was studying Chinese there for a couple months and happened to buy one of their sweaters. But she asks me, this person I'm sort of meeting, a friend of a friend, oh, did you go to Middlebury? And I said, oh, I went to their language school. Oh, and of course, what did you study? Oh, I studied Mandarin or something. And then they asked me, oh, so do you teach Chinese? And I'm like, no. And then they said something very interesting. And I don't remember how it happened exactly, but maybe it came up that I was like a student or something. And I heard her say, like, oh, so you're getting your PhD in Chinese. And it sounds weird. It's not like I just let it fly and like, there wasn't an opportunity for me to correct them. But in my mind, my takeaway is, oh, that's, of course, people see me at my age and they hear, whether they hear education, they're just connecting dots based on their experience and what they sort of generally know to be true about their subjective experience, right? So I'm just sort of dialing that in. And there was a moment at the end of the night, I'm having kind of a one-on-one with this person's husband. And again, we're talking about school. And this is after hearing a very protracted conversation between this sort of new person I'm meeting, the husband of my friend's wife's friend. I don't even know if I said that right. But, and my friend Brian, they've had a protracted conversation about their professional careers. They both work in software for major companies. And so I'm just kind of listening to this and thinking, oh, my life is nothing like this. I'm nowhere near, I'm not deep in a career the same way I hear these two people talking about it. And and then I have a one-on-one with this gentleman. And again, the topic of a school comes up. And he's like, oh, so are you getting your master's or something like that? And I was like, no, actually, I totally know why you would say that. But as it happens, I'm actually an undergraduate. And I see like the nod. Oh, okay. And it's a little bit like there's this thing that we do in life, which is like no matter what job somebody has, you just go, oh, well, that's cool. Oh, well, there you go. Like literally when I was getting picked up from the airport and I was getting I was going to say Ubered, but it was actually Lyft. I was getting lifted from the airport to my friend's house. First of all, I had one of these, I think it's something about me, like I just bring it out in people. I'm very kind of conversational and I'm happy to keep the conversation going. Maybe part of it is like, as a longtime crisis counselor, I know how to ask open-ended questions. I know how to reflect, and I think that gives people when you're on a crisis line, you're kind of trying to get people out of their shell, and there's a lot of skills that you have to sort of just non-verbally, or I don't know it's definitely verbal, right? Because that's the only communication you have over the phone. But I'm saying it's just a technique or a strategy of getting people to demonstrate that you're listening and to kind of give them permission to say more. And so, inadvertently, if I'm like in the backseat of a car, I do a lot of open-ended questions and like reflection. And so people just kind of keep going, right? They keep seeing the conversational green light and they keep telling me more and more. And I realized in the 30-minute drive from the airport to my friend's house, I had heard this guy's whole life story. I had a complete picture of his like financial situation and his marriage situation and what he likes to do for fun. I mean, I know that this guy has gone on cruises. I know he like gambles with his wife every once in a while. I know about his past jobs. I know the last couple cities he's lived in. I know his reasons for moving. I know his situation with his children. But he tells me at one point, he's like, well, I just kind of do this, but really my job is I drive for Frito-Lay, which is a chip company. And he's like a delivery driver for Frito-Lay. Now, that guy's got a hustle. Admittedly, probably not the coolest job in the world. But I hear myself when he says that. I'm like, oh, well, there you go. And it's like I'm like affirming, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. But what it is what I'm doing is I'm anticipating the fact. I hear a little vulnerability in his voice about saying that because I think he probably knows it's not the coolest thing in the world. And so I'm trying to meet that vulnerability with assurance, right? I'm trying to let him know that, like, oh, I've heard what you said, and I'm not going to be like, oh, okay. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, now I'm in the presence of somebody who doesn't have a super fucking cool job. And the point I'm really trying to get at is there's a type of interaction that happens with that when you're 38 and you're sort of explaining to people that you're an undergraduate student because they're trying to do one, they're thinking, oh, this is exceptional, but then they're also trying to fill in the story for themselves. I see the kind of gears turning in their mind. And they're trying to think, oh, well, what's going on here? Like, why is this guy 38 and why is he just an undergraduate? But what they're also doing is they're retroactively recalibrating the conversation that they've had with you. And this is not a malicious thing. This is just what people do, right? And actually, this sort of drives at something interesting, which I'm gonna feel vulnerable talking about. But it just sort of follows from what I'm talking about. I'm going to divorce this from any sort of context, but let's just say I heard anecdotally from somebody who had this this experience, and it was sort of tangentially related to this idea that I've talked about, which is, although I am on the left, I feel like the comportment and the stance of where many people on the left are now, and I don't say the left uniformly, because I'm trying to say I am on the left. That's where my politics lie. That's where I see myself on the spectrum of politics. And yet there are people who are even more left than me, who by virtue of their position have made me feel as if I'm on the right. And this is an example that is relevant to that, which is somebody was in a very progressive city, and they encountered somebody who was a Zoftig, sort of heavyset, appeared to be male, had a beard, had a full beard, and had very just sort of passively and very politely said to this person, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" And the person sort of froze and looked at them incredulously and just said with a lot of vehemence, like, "Oh, did you just gender me?" And it obviously was this very like contestatorial kind of encounter or confrontational encounter. And I don't know how the person responded, but I'm sort of putting myself in that situation where I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I did. I'm so sorry." But the thing that sort of stands out to me about that is like the incredulousness of that moment. Now, I know I always paint in a broad brush or whatever. I don't want to say everybody on the left is like that. But what I do want to point out is we all know that we live in a world now where that's a very likely situation. Now, there's a whole conversation to be had about this individual, which is if they are male presenting and they do not identify as male, and that's how they actually experience themselves. Of course, it's going to be very frustrating, and they're going to have to do a lot of educating for people if they go about their life and people assume they're male and people address them as male. And that's very difficult for that person. And I don't want to minimize that. But this is the part where at least I'm either calcified in my relative conservatism. The part I don't get is the incredulousness, right? That person sort of stops, at least the way the story was related to me. And whether or not it happened that way, I think we all agree that it could have happened that way and that it does happen this way. I mean, I've seen it happen this way. I mean, I go to UC Berkeley. I very literally see and encounter this type of thing all the time. It's the incredulousness. Like, "Oh my God, did you just gender me?" There's something about the way that, and it's bizarre that we're going into politics, but there's something about the way that this sort of far left thing has sort of presented themselves, which is, why are we all acting like we're not living in the same world? You know, like, you're a male presenting person with a beard. Why are you incredulous that I'm approaching you, assuming that you're male? And what I'm trying to do, this is just a circuitous way to get back to the situation that I'm in with my with my age and my school. Like, if every time I talk, and by the way, it's every time I talk about school or the subject of school comes up, nobody assumes or even entertains the idea that I'm an undergrad, because the vast majority of their experiences in this life are with people who are, if they're undergraduate, they're within a certain age range. If someone appears to be 38 and they're talking about school, of course they're going to assume that that person's in a higher level of education. Or when they hear language like, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I return to school," or I'm a full-time student or something like that. They've assumed that I'm changing careers or something like that. And, I'm going back for my master's or my PhD or something like that. Now, maybe there's an argument to be made about how, on some level these things are vastly different. For example, like, no one's going to excoriate me or have prejudice or bigotry toward me for where I'm at my school. But I'm just talking about that moment of education or recalibrating for the other person. And what I'm saying is I would imagine that if that's how you appear in the world, and maybe you just get fed up of doing this, but isn't the appropriate response something like, "Hey, I totally understand why you would assume that I'm male, and yet I don't. I actually identify as female." That gives that person a chance to kind of recalibrate. It's also polite, which I think is, I don't know, not given enough currency these days. And I think part of it is we're just sort of primed from like social media, like these sort of minute, everyday sort of inevitable encounters that we have in our life. So much of us are saturated with social media that we just see this one moment as indicative of the drama that we see playing out on social media. And so when we encounter whether it's people of opposing viewpoints or people who make these kind of social faux pas, at least that's how we're sort of treating them. We sort of see them as somehow indicative of the torrent of media that we've consumed, right? This is why I can't understand these people who kind of, you see this all the time now. These people get in these kind of like verbal confrontations. A lot of them happen at airports. A lot of them seem to happen in people's driveways. But you just have these two dorks like who pull their cameras out and say, hey, say that again. And then they just start filming each other. And it's this very performative confrontation. It's just a goddamn nightmare. And I just think, who has time for this? It's just dork on dork crime is how I feel about it. But where am I going with this? Oh, something about politeness. Something about, there's this other thing too that I think is getting lost on people, which is, I remember in my last job as a person in a semi-leadership position, and as someone who had to kind of educate and appropriately people about the culture of our workplace, and also, training people who are going to be interacting with and being a support system for a diverse community. We obviously have to be very aware of our impact, especially for anyone who's done therapy or any type of counseling. There's a power dynamic there, which is you're perceived as a person of some expertise of some sort. Not that people think that you're a licensed therapist, but there's just a power dynamic there. And so that's something that we have to be really mindful of. And especially as we're just talking with people over the phone, there's a lot of opportunity to make assumptions about people's identity or circumstances, which if you're really trying to be a support system for somebody, making those types of assumptions, is it going to be damaging? We could probably argue over that word. But I would say it could certainly impact the level of care that you can provide to people. I would certainly agree with that. But there was this thing that came up all the time, and I just sort of looked up one day, and it was just like the default ideology, not just in my work, but in the world in general, or in sort of these kind of leftist circles, I would say, which is this concept of intention versus impact, which is that although your intentions may be good, that actually doesn't matter. The thing that's the most important is the impact that you have on that person. So if somebody says, hey, you saying X made me feel Y, as the person who did that, it's rude or inappropriate to say, oh, well, that wasn't my intention. My intention was, I was all the way on B. My intention was B. That somehow is, how do I say it? It is sort of invalidating that person's experience, and that you're actually doing more harm by not just taking responsibility for the impact. You're sort of harming that person twofold or something like that. Now, I agree with some of that. I think it's certainly true that people are inadvertently harmed by the things that we do that are not our intentions. And if that's brought to us, I think we need to receive that sometimes with some grace and to take ownership of that. And yet I just don't buy. It's not true to me that intention doesn't matter. Because there's all sorts of ways that I can't foresee the impact of 1,000 things that I do. But there's also a lot of people in the world who are not well. And there's just no way I can go about my life and just sort of be accountable for the potential impact that every action that I have has on a person. I can't control what someone's life has been like, what their individual experience is. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't necessarily take ownership of how my identity and how I live in the world, assuming I'm generally well-calibrated and a good person, how that negatively impacts somebody else. As a cis white male, is the case that, people who have been harmed or attacked or sexually assaulted, or especially as a 38-year-old male in a majoritively younger community, I see how people react to me, especially women. They kind of assess like, what type of dude are you? Because I'm sure they go through their life and there's a lot of older dudes who like leer at them. So I have to be very intentional about the space I keep around people, sometimes the familiarity that I have with, females in my class. And sometimes I'm a very friendly person, and I just have to read that people are just not interested in connecting with me. And so I just have to sort of, keep my distance or something like that. But the point I'm trying to get at is I'm also not responsible for that, though, right? I just kind of have to be who I am. And on some level, I have to make people are responsible for their own feelings to some degree. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want to completely minimize that, right? Like sometimes there are teachable moments in life where we actually aren't aware of the impact that we're having on other people. And when that's brought to our attention, we really should consider that for the most part, as long as we trust the source, right? Like there's this other interview question that I would constantly ask people that's like, I forget how to word it now. I've only asked it 500 times. You'd think I'd have it seared into my brain. But I guess I've kind of asked people. I usually ask people like, what's some difficult feedback that you received in the past? Feedback that was hard for you to hear. How did you take that? And of course, everybody has the sort of stock response. Well, I was on my job and I thought I was doing great, and then my boss told me that my performance wasn't where it should be, and of course, it was very hurtful. But I sort of rather than sort of internalize it, I sort of thought about it and I recalibrated, and we talked about how to change things moving forward, and yada 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 yada. So that's like job training 101. And so there is something like that needs to happen in life, where we're kind of going about our lives. We're not really aware of the impact that we're having, and so we can kind of look inside and recalibrate. But also sometimes, especially in our current climate, I just feel like if that were me, like if I was in or let's put it this way, I obviously have an emotional response every time I'm sitting across from someone and they assume that I'm a graduate student, right? It makes me kind of feel bad about where I'm at in my life. It makes me look at the social sort of social milieu, right? Of course, the normative way of living is that we kind of go to college when we're younger, and that wasn't my journey, man. And I was kind of hopping about, and how dare people apply these kind of normative constraints to me? There's a lot of people who don't go to college when they're younger, who, for whatever reasons, for some people it's financial. Maybe that person was they were dealing with their mental health. And so they had this circuitous route where they got a job or whatever, and now that they're better, they're back in school. And, how dare we assume, what level of schooling that they're at? Like, you're making them feel bad. And it's like, yeah, but also that's just the way the cracker crumbles, man. And it's not, I guess what I'm getting back to this idea of intention, which is most people don't mean harm. They're really just doing that thing, which is the overwhelming vast majority of their experience is it's normative for a reason. It's common for a reason. It's the expectation for a reason, because that's actually what the majority of people are doing. And, it's a little weird for me, but that's just part of my job in life. Like, I have to deal with that. When I'm sitting across from adults that I'm meeting and they're making assumptions about where I'm at in my life, I have to deal with that. But I can also make my life easier by anticipating that and having prepared how I'm going to respond in those moments. Not just for them. It's not just this subservient genuflection or apology, although maybe there is a little bit of that in there, where I'm saying, I have to thoughtfully maneuver it because I'm, for whatever, I'm trying to make it easier for them. But, I'm actually trying to, what I'm actually trying to do? I'm actually trying to save my dignity in a way. And again, maybe again, this is sort of like indexing a kind of like power balance between us, right? But I guess what I'm saying is I'm doing it for my self-preservation, meaning I can't you have to pick your battles, Like I can't just get upset about this every time. And there's just something kind of miscalibrated about assuming that this says something about other people. People are just kind of going based on their common experience, right? So when that person assumes certain things about me, it's not because they're a bad person, even if it impacts me poorly, right? Even if it makes me feel bad about who I am and where I'm at in my life. That's what most people do. And so when I'm in that moment, I've just learned to say, I totally understand why you'd say that, right? And maybe you saw where this is going, but I totally understand why you'd say that. And yet this is actually the case. And people go, okay. And whatever happens in the moment, I don't know, but they take that with them, And maybe the next time they encounter someone who's an adult and they say, most people want to do the right thing. Most people don't want to make people feel bad. And maybe the next time they're sitting across from someone who says they're in school, they may just think to ask, are you an undergraduate? Right? We'll have some kind of socially, if we all approach conversations that way, eventually we would all get to a place where we would have some type of canned response, right? Like, so I'm not saying it's great, but when I hear that person say, I drive for Frito-Lay, or imagine whatever job that comes to mind when I think about this for you, I'm sure you've had that experience. Maybe someone says, what's like a culturally generally maligned job? Oh, I work at McDonald's. Oh, I'm a garbage man. And you go, oh, well, there you go. You're trying to, receive that. You're aware of how that sounds or how that lands given our social zeitgeist about our cultural stereotypes about certain jobs, and you're trying to indicate to them on some level or broadcast to them that, hey, you're supportive of them, and hey, let's continue the conversation and let's still be convivial. I'm not going to use this against you or something like that. If we all approached maybe educational conversations that way, or if people like myself who are 38 and undergraduates, if we, I don't know what the word would be, but if we are misgendered, miss whatever, that we receive that with some grace, assuming it's not coming from a place of overt bigotry, right? Because sometimes, there are people who say declaratively, like, oh, I will not use pronouns, I will not do this. And so there is a way in which misgendering someone is weaponized. Microaggression gets a bad rap, and that's probably not entirely unjustified either. But yeah, I'm just trying to acknowledge too. I'm trying to recontextualize myself as someone who is a liberal. There's some of this stuff that I think is definitely worth considering, and actually most of it we need to internalize and utilize on some level. And yet, I still believe that again, from what I know about this completely sort of related experience to me, it was just very telling to me. I think that it's not about, the person that they're it's for that person. The fact that their default setting, if they, it just sort of, I don't know, it sort of communicates to me a lack of self-awareness, which is like, I understand where you want the world to be and how you'd like to be perceived in the world, and I want that for you as well, and it wouldn't be bad for the world either. And yet, let's be honest about where we're at. And it's just going to be exponentially better, I think, for that person. That person would be happier if they just went through the world and were like, this sucks. It's a little hurtful every time this happens. And yet, if I was being fair to other people, they're probably not being malicious. And I'd say, hey, oh, you know what? Hey, I'm a Zoftig, like male-presenting person with a huge beard. I totally understand why you would think I was male, but actually identify as female or whatever. And that give that person a chance to go, oh, shit, oh, wow. And then the lesson they take from that is, oh, I guess you just don't know anymore. Like, I really got to be better about that, Because what people do is they get upset. Because when you make people feel bad about something that they actually shouldn't feel bad about, they get more entrenched. They actually don't like you anymore. And actually, you become a bad ambassador for that position. And I guess as I say that, maybe PR is beside the point, right? Like, but that's also, again, maybe it's just strategic or something like that, where it's like, yeah, one, I think you'll be happier. One, is just bad for the cause, because I think there's a way in which, a lot of the way some of the left has been presenting themselves, that I think actually people like want to go to the right. They're like, hey, man, if this is where the left's at, fuck it, because that's not me. I'm going over here. If this is what's going on over here, I don't want to be a part of this party anymore. Not because they don't have sympathies for the cause, not because on some level they don't agree ideologically. It's because they're not going down the rabbit hole that they're being made to feel. As if they're, that they're somehow like Hitler Youth or something like that. And it's like, I'm not saying that they necessarily run and throw on a MAGA hat, but it's something like that, And, people will say, there's something about the left's comportment in their presentation in the last few years that is actually, I can't think of the word, not cause necessarily, but it's kind of feeding the general rise of conservatism, which is actually very present. I mean, the type of conservatism that we have in this country right now is, I remember being young. I came up in a period where George Bush was considered the fucking Antichrist. This was right around the time of the Iraq War. And, people on the left, and myself included, we thought George Bush was like the fucking Antichrist. And we were like, oh my God, I didn't know it could get this bad for a conservative president. And this is having lived in a world of people like Ronald Reagan and Nixon. George Bush seemed to be some kind of like, when you think of like the Terminator movies, like the T-1000 of conservatives. If you had told someone that Donald Trump, and not just Donald Trump the person, but Donald Trump as the Donald Trump that we've all known him to be, the type of person that we saw him present himself as, would be president, I mean, liberals' heads would have exploded. But where does this kind of I don't know what's after the T1000. This kind of I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what's a type of immortal villain? I don't know. There's a great example here. I don't know what it is, but this sort of final boss of conservatism. And actually, this is where it really gets scary. Because I had this thought too, which is now that Donald Trump is president, we've seen this entire sea change in the presentation and the strategic efforts of conservatives generally. Of course, you have some conservatives who have kind of seen like the consequences that have come to bear on Donald Trump for like the way he acted. But I think what it really indicated to people is that they were trying to play by the left's rules for a while, because we all kind of felt like we were although the right had some pretty insane views, they kind of kept those in check because they thought we were all playing by the same rules of what was socially acceptable. And then Trump came and blew the doors off that. And people thought, oh shit, well, I'm just going to let my freak flag fly. My conservative freak flag is going to fly now. And the scary part is it's given people, permission to ideologically go to some very scary places. And yet the person who comes after Trump is going to have learned from Trump's lessons and be a much more formidable political opponent. I mean, when Trump ran against the left, their whole position was like, oh, well, fuck this guy. Like, this guy's a joke. Like, they thought they were just going to walk all over him. The next person who comes along is going to be Trump 2.0, and they're going to have ideologically the same position as Trump. They are going to be able to tap into and evangelize the crazy segment of the population that Trump was able to sort of mobilize to vote for him. An unobserved, unacknowledged, I don't know if I'd call it a majority, but certainly a significant portion of the population who was living outside of polls, who was not being acknowledged, who the left didn't even know existed in this country. A quiet minority of people that could sway the vote. And that person's going to know how to reach in and tap into that minority, but they're going to be much more sophisticated politically. And that's going to be very scary. That's something that we all got to watch out for. I don't know what that will look like necessarily, but it's going to be someone in a business suit. It's going to be someone who speaks very well. And in a way, it's probably going to be someone who kind of looks like the left. But underneath that will be a very, 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 very dangerous ideology. And I actually had this paper recently. There's two people I find very interesting. I may have mentioned that I saw this play that I streamed online. It's called, oh God, now I can't remember it. Straight Line. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. It's with Ralph Fiennes or Rafe Fiennes. I don't know how you say his name. I think that's it. Oh, no, it's not Liam Neeson. No, it's like Ralph Fiennes, Rafe Fiennes, or whatever. The dude from Quiz Show. Very, very good actor. You know who he is as soon as you see him. But he plays Robert Moses. And Robert Moses is the subject of a Pulitzer Prize-winning biography called The Power Broker, which is this encyclopedic length biography that won the Pulitzer and is very, very good. And I remember I heard about this while I was in New York City many years ago. Someone was reading it, and they just told me, I didn't know who Robert Moses was, but they told me about this book they were reading, and I knew instantly, oh, that's for me. So I ran home, and as soon as I landed, I bought a copy, and I haven't read the damn thing. It's sitting on my bookshelf. It's staring me down, but it's one of these things that I always think I'm going to get around to. But it's a megalomaniacal kind of personality, very Trumpian, very prototypical Trumpian New York development, civil works, but demolishing and like building highways over parks and in low-income housing and all that sort of stuff. But a very fascinating personality. Also, I'm taking this political science class where we learned about Huey Long. Now, if you're hip to politics, this may sound like a cliche, and where the fuck has this guy been? But I did not know who Huey Long was. And Huey Long was a Louisiana governor, later a U.S. senator, in like the early 1900s, from like 1923 to 1935. They ended up being assassinated in like 1935. And this person was a Democrat, but was very prototypical Trump. Everything they did was like tainted with corruption. They were very power hungry, and the poor loved this person. Ken Burns did a documentary about, I think the documentary is from like maybe maybe like 2004 or something like that. You could probably, it's like a PBS documentary. I'm sure you could find it somewhere. But the poor of Louisiana loved Donald Trump. Sorry, not Donald Trump. The poor of Louisiana loved Huey Long, but he was profoundly corrupt. And clearly everything he did was for his own personal gain and profit, and it was for power. You know, I feel like I was talking about Elon Musk and I completely went left to center, and I don't know if I even put a period at the end of that sentence. But I'm talking about this kind of masters of the universe syndrome or disorder, masters of the universe syndrome or disorder that people live with. And Huey Long definitely fucking had that. And there's no doubt that Huey Long wanted to be president. And when you look at the way that he sort of operated politically, even at the state level, you know, you realize he was willing to do anything he could to maintain power. And I have no doubt in my mind that Trump would do whatever it took, if he could, to just like become emperor of the United States. Now, why he would want to do that, I have no idea. I don't know why it's just not enough to like have your money and just be a celebrity and not deal with the public. But it's because people want power. And so the looming question for someone like Huey Long is, one, had he not been assassinated, what type of politics could he have? What type of power could he have sort of earned for himself? And then also, let's say he did become president. Is he the type of person who would have made himself like an emperor of the United States if he could have? And so basically I had to write this paper for my political science class where I sort of looked at, what types of checks and balances had the founding fathers established in the United States to sort of keep power from concentrating in these sort of populist demagogues like Huey Long, like Donald Trump. And as it happens, though, do you think that those scaffolds or those stanchions of the political order are sufficient to withstand somebody like Huey Long or Donald Trump? And my final evaluation is that probably not, meaning a lot of the checks and balances can be corrupted. And I think we saw Trump trying to do that. But what I'm saying is the person who comes along, the next Trump, the Trump 2.0, I think will be aware of that. There's maybe we've talked about this, but again, there's something about the way that the right has sort of moved, which is they thought that we were all playing by a certain set of rules. But Trump is one of those people who just decides, oh, actually, if you just throw he's like the kid who like just bats all the other pieces off the board and says, I win. Because it's like, if you want to play by certain rules, the game is very hard. And that's what the left has tried to do, right? They want to be polite, they're very public facing, and they kind of want to win, quote, the right way. But when you have someone like Trump who's like, I don't give a shit, I'll do whatever it takes to win. The only thing I'm interested in is winning. It's like a cheat code. And there's plenty of people in the United States who respect that. Because in business, it's just about the bottom line. It's about the bottom dollar. A win is a win. And that's what people want for politics or whatever the fuck. So the next person who comes along is going to know that. And I think the thing that we have to fear is not Trump necessarily, although God knows I don't want him to be reelected. But the person we really have to fear is, whatever this like masters of the universe software syndrome is, that person's going to come with a major software update. And they're going to be much more sophisticated politically. And that's the person we have to look after. So anyway, maybe this feels like political whiplash. Because on the one hand, I'm sure some people hearing this would think I sounded like alt-right incel for the most of our time together today. And then I ended talking and cautioning us against the dangers of Trump. But I think this is the point I'm trying to get at and the thing I've been thinking about, which is, again, I feel very much on the left. And I feel, at the very least, I'm very moderate on many issues. And yet there's a way I've been made to feel very conservative, which doesn't jive. And I want to be sympathetic, and I want to hear where people are coming from. And yet, there's something about the far left, which is, I feel like their position is divorced from reality, and also, maybe just not generous enough. Like I said, there's something about where people have convinced themselves that intention doesn't matter. And again, I don't want to minimize the impact that people's, even their ignorance has on people. But yet I feel, you just sort of evangelize people against you when you treat them as something that's just blatantly not true. They're not trying to be dicks. Even if they are dicks, they're not trying to be one. So let's be a little bit more generous with people. And I think that will serve us all a lot better. But what can I say? Easy for me to say, right? Easy for the cis white male from a wealthy background to say that. So maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So anyway, thanks for your time. And yeah, maybe we'll just pick this up next week. I feel like I'm at the end of therapy where there's a lot more to say and yet we're out of time. And so we just have to say goodbye. And I'll say we'll pick it up next week, but we won't. We'll talk about something completely different. I'll talk about some movie I'm watching. And I'll try to forget this ever happened. So anyway, I'm spent. So let's leave it here, shall we? So how do I always end that? I say thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. And ciao for now.